Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 195 of our beyou 365-day challenge, where we are going to, and I'm going to share how to use the urine analysis to determine your contribution action. What should you do now? What should you do next? What should you do first in order to start filling that gap from where you are to where you want to be in the area of contribution that you're working on? Now, I'm going to pop this up here, my brainstorm list yesterday of 10 different possible things I could do to go from where I am to where I want to be. And I circled the 3 that I'm going to analyze today. That's the 10, the 3, and we're going to use the urine analysis to get that down to the one area or the one thing that we're going to do, the one action we're going to move toward. It's just a way to analyze and decide among alternatives that really aren't comparing apples to apples, right? Let's see what mine were. I got this super new, gigantic, it's like almost as big as my head, magnifying glass from my sister yesterday. My family likes to find me magnifying things and that will help me with my eye challenges. So my mom sent me this giant sheet one day, and my sister called me over yesterday and said, hey, I found you something when I was shopping with my granddaughter, because we're having a big granddaughter week. So she got me this giant magnifying glass, which isn't super strong, but it's very big, so I can actually use it to do things that my normal magnifying glasses aren't especially handy for. So let's talk about the urine analysis. We've talked about it before. I think we talked about it actually in January. I think is the first time we talked about the urine analysis, what it is, what it means, and how we can use it to choose among alternatives. So my alternatives were: 1, set up a nonprofit; 2, create cause merchandise for a cause that I care about and sell that to raise funds; or create a group giving project, maybe write a book that we donate the proceeds to charity, maybe do a summit where we donate all the proceeds to charity, one of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze that using these criteria. U stands for urgent. How urgent is it that I create or do each one of those things right now? Now we have options here. We can keep it really simple. We can use a 3-2-1 weighted scale, or we can use rate each option on each criteria 1 through 5, or 1 through 10, 1 through 100, whatever works for you. I say keep it simple. I don't remember what I taught in January. It's been months ago now. So let's just say we're going to do 3-2-1, meaning the one that is the most urgent is going to get 3, because we're going to go with the highest number. But then that also means that when it comes to resources, how many resources are required, the one that requires the least amount of resources is going to get the higher number, the 3. And then the same is true of energy or effort. The alternative that requires, of the 3, the least amount of effort or energy to create it or do it, that's going to get the higher number, 3. This is a little bit confusing until you use it a few times, and once you get used to using the tool, it makes life so much easier. So I will go through, and for each of these alternatives, for example, set up a nonprofit. How urgent is that? Is it urgent that I set up a nonprofit? Probably not. So that's probably going to get a 1 or a 2. Is it a resource-laden thing? Will it take more resources than the other possibilities? To do a summit, yep, it's going to take more resources than a summit. And how about creating merchandise? These are all pretty hard to analyze. That's why I'm going to have to, I haven't done mine yet. I set up my grid, but I haven't done it yet because I'm going to have to think about these with respect to the urine analysis. Is it important? Is it an important thing to do? Depending on the cause that I want to support, only I can say how important it is. And this isn't important to the world, it's important to you. How important is it to you to do this particular activity? Is it necessary? Well, it depends. It depends if it's necessary or not. It might not be, but it might be, right? Maybe there's a hurricane or something and it's really necessary to quickly raise funds or get water or take donations in order to help people to survive. And then finally, energy. How much energy or effort is it going to take? Resources include how much is it going to cost? Do I need different resources? Are those resources available? Nowadays, are the resources available is a very big question. Since COVID, there are a lot of components to things that we want to do that there are shortages of. There are hundreds of thousands or 100,000 plus General Motors cars sitting in lots waiting for chips because we don't have the chips available for them. So there's a lot of examples like that in our economy right now where supply chain is a challenge and resources might be a bigger deal than other times. So our action item today is to look at the 3 alternatives that you selected from yesterday's option brainstorming 10-3-1. We brainstormed 10, we picked 3, and now today we're going to narrow that down to the 1 using the urine analysis or whatever other decision-making tool you find necessary. A lot of times when we do, or when I'm using the SOAP framework, what I'm going to do next, the action I'm going to take, is it just pops to the top and I know what I'm going to do. I don't need to use a tool to decide, or a decision-making tool to figure out what my next step is or my first action is. I just know what it is and I do it. But if we need a tool, if we're in a more complicated situation where it's hard to decide among alternatives, if the alternatives are really, really different, like if I had donate cash as one of these, volunteer, or start a nonprofit, or create a line of products, all 3 of those are very different when it comes to urgency, importance, necessity, resources, and energy. So they're a little easier to just know and not have to grade and add the numbers up. But I like to use the urine analysis, add up the numbers, so it's clear to me on a conscious level what's the next best thing for me to do. And when I have alternatives that all are pretty complicated like these are, for me today, then I definitely want to use a problem-solving tool like the urine analysis. All right, any questions? Oh, and then share in the comments below just the 1 action that you're going to take. And the sooner you decide, if you can take an action toward that thing right now, today, absolutely positively do it. Why? Because that reinforces our commitment to do what we say we're going to do. All right, I will be with you tomorrow for our SOAP, the P in our SOAP, which stands for progress. How do we know if we're filling that gap? How do we know if we're moving toward what we want? And we use different tools in the progress stage of our framework, just like we do in every other stage. So, any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. Have fun with this. Deciding among alternatives and things that we want to do and how we want to show up in the world, that's all supposed to make us feel good. All right, have a great day, and I'll be with you tomorrow. Bye.